You're listening to Feathers, a podcast of stories of women walking in faith. I hope these stories inspire you and encourage you to take flight in your own faith. I'm your host, Amy Bennett, and this is Season 9, Episode 5. Feathers is an outreach of Abiding Ministries. Find more encouragement at abidingministries.net. Hey friend, and welcome to Feathers This Week. If you've been following us this season, you know that we have partnered with DaySpring as the exclusive sponsor of Season 9. As part of that partnership, I had the honor to interview the president of DaySpring, Mr. James Barnett. And for those that don't know, DaySpring is a subsidiary of Hallmark, and they are the world's largest Christian social expression company. Mr. Barnett has been with the company since 1981 and has been its president since 1994. I loved hearing in our conversation how the company is able to run as a business and yet also keep ministry and Jesus as their focus. And as a person who personally works in corporate America, I appreciated his perspective of how faith and ministry can be intertwined and how God has led him nearly the last 40 years in his professional life. So let's go ahead and get to my conversation with Mr. James Barnett. All right. Hi, Mr. Barnett, and welcome to Feathers today.
Well, good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, man, I'm so glad to have you on today. As we were discussing, you are the first male that I've had, except for my husband. So taking a leap of faith here, but really glad to have you on.
Well, good. I hope I can meet the need that you are trying to fill, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to share today.
Yes, I'm excited to chat today. So for those that don't know, you are the president of DaySpring, and we have partnered with DaySpring for this season of Feathers, and just so thankful and honored for that to happen. But I would love for you to introduce yourself, your family, and anything else you would like to tell us about DaySpring.
Well, again, I'm James Barnett, and I've been engaged in a part of the DaySpring team for 37 years. So started while I was in college and done different roles and functions and been leading the company the last 24 years. It's been a great journey of faith and just a great opportunity to do what I feel like God has called me to do in my generation. I'm married 39 years plus. Will be 40 years next next May. Get the right month, May the 12th. And we've been married 40 years to Marilyn. Met her at John Brown University back many years ago. And we have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. So we are blessed and just so grateful for what God has done through our journey here at DaySpring and in our personal journeys.
Wow. Just so many years of faithfulness there. I actually work my full-time job. I work for Wells Fargo. I've been there for the last 17 years. So as I've done that, been in the corporate world, I understand that there's a lot of top-level executives that don't have the staying power of 37 years with one company, especially in the position of president, for 24 years. What is it meant to you to stay at DaySpring for that long, and what is it about DaySpring that keeps you there?
Well, for me, when I first met the founders when I was in college, I always had, always loved ministry, and my dad was a pastor and a school teacher. He pastored at small churches, so he taught school to really truthfully make a living. And I'm the youngest of 7. So we were always busy, and I was always watching my brothers and athletics, and I was involved in athletics and many sports and continued that journey. But I always loved ministry. But for some reason I just was an entrepreneur and a business guy. And when I was very young, at the age of 14, I had 26 yards. I was mowing and had some of my friends working for me, and I was selling stuff and trading things all the way through junior high and high school and college. And when I met these founders, I said, wow, you can combine business and ministry. And I was really intrigued. And so I got to know them and ended up offering to do a school project for them on the sellability of Christian products in the secular market. And did that project for them and found out, guess what? Christians buy groceries and Christians go to Walmart and Target and every other store to buy things, and they also buy Christian products there. So anyway, I can that journey, and I asked them for a job, and that was 37 years ago, and I've been doing this ever since.
Oh,
But for
can
me,
you hear
what
me?
keeps me
Looks like
here
I
is
lost you.
just the mission and the integration of my faith and my work, and this has just been a place that I could do
Can
that.
you hear me?
And I've had many opportunities to do other things, but it's just like God has just said, this is what your assignment is. Stay with it. And so I have done that, and the folks that I work with have allowed me to continue to do that, and it's just been a real blessing. And it is a God story. It's just that God is at work here, and has also been at work in my life and my journey, and I've just tried to be faithful each day to serve and do what God has called me to do.
I love that you've been able to mix the two together. Not everybody has that capability, so that's incredible being able to do that. I want to ask you, as it sounds like you were with the company for many years and then transitioned as president several years ago. What was that like moving to that position? Would you say that was overwhelming, scary, or do you really feel like you were at a place where you felt prepared and ready to step into that?
I think I felt both of those. I felt prepared in many ways, but I felt, just overwhelmed a little bit too. Like, wow, this is a big responsibility. Looking back, I was fairly young. I was 36, but I'd worked at the company for 13 years and had sort of helped start a little bit of a marketing department early on that we launched, and then took over the sales area that year, and then so really for that first 13 years really led that sales and marketing efforts here at our business. So when I joined the company, it was very small. We had about 25 employees, and we're just doing just about $1 million in business. So it was a small business, and just had an opportunity to help grow that business in that 13 years. And then when that time came, and my boss took another role with our parent company up in Colorado at the time, and so took my role, and it was a little bit overwhelming. There was a little bit of this concern with people. Well, what's James going to be like as a leader as compared to our founders and our previous leader, and this business and ministry thing, and I think that was really led me to a place of because people thought, well, are we just going to be business now, and what's going to change? And for me, it was an integration of business and ministry. And that's when I coined a phrase that I never knew would be had the staying power that it's had. But I began to think, well, someone actually stopped and asked me, are we business or ministry? And I said, well, we're both. I said, we're 100% ministry and we're 100% business. It's not a 50-50. It's not about balancing. It's about integrating, and our motivation is still ministry. We want to see people come to know the Lord. That's a high motivation for us. But we don't do that by preaching the street corners. We do that by equipping people with tools of communication that help them express their heart in fresh new ways. And so that really being our motivation is ministry, but our method is business. God called us to be excellent at business, and we're a for-profit business that has to make enough money to pay our bills and our payroll and grow and expand and invest in the future of the business. And our message is Jesus, and that really is how we just present Jesus at that time. Thousands of ways that we do that every day and still do this today. So our motivation is ministry, our method is business, and our message is Jesus became sort of our mantra of how do we move forward? How do we keep our focus on the right things? That it's an integration. It's not something we do on Sunday and then we live a different life on Monday through Friday. We are living the same life, same day, experiences in our faith, and just in a different environment.
I love that it's not balance, but it's about integration. That's that can speak to so many things. I know a lot of moms, especially, are trying to balance, whether they work at home or taking care of their kids. And it's both and. It's 100% of each. So I'm curious, because you said that you are a combination of both business and ministry. And as you've integrated your faith into your business, I would expect that you guys as a company have had to take leaps of faith. As the Lord has led you, you've been prompted perhaps to, do some kind of initiative that felt like a leap of faith as a company. Maybe it was a risk. I know, in the corporate world, we talk a lot about managing risk, and, maybe it was an unpopular decision for some people. I don't know. I just wonder if you could speak to that, if you've experienced that as a leader, having to take your business in a leap of faith, and how you got people on board with that.
Yes, I think we've had to do that many times and multiple times, and do it every day. And since I've been here all this length of time, 37 years, I was with the founders and some of the early team members for the first 5 years, and then the founders made a decision to sell the business and to sell to David C. Cook. And David C. Cook was our parent then for 12 years. And then it was during that time that I took my role in 1994. And then in 1999, David C. Cook decided to sell us, and basically presented to a number of different companies. But Hallmark ended up being the company that purchased us in 1999. So there's been multiple changes just in ownership, but then in that leadership. And I've been in this role now for 24 years of leading DaySpring in that season. But in the early 2000s, the online business was starting to pick up pace, and the internet and the Christian stores and how people shopped. And of course, the Amazon effect was starting to take place, and we were doing e-cards. We, did a lot of e-cards, but we made a decision in that early time to look at our mission statement and said, our calling is to reach people, throughout the world, and to, wasn't just to be a greeting card business, but it was, what does that look like in content? What does that look like in reach? And so we made a lot of choices to try to reach outside of the Christian store, which was a very, very important part of our business. But we obviously had worked with Walmart and Hobby Lobby and other places that we began to work with. So some of those changes in the business were, how do you compete online? How do you compete in other retail stores when the biggest portion of your business had been with one channel? And there was a lot of tension in that, because the retail stores were upset at us for selling to other places. But at the end of the day, the consumer was making decisions to buy other places. And so we had to make that decision to move forward and try to do that in a wise way, and to do that in a way that's complementary, not as competitive. But again, the consumer and the way the consumer shopping was changing, we had to adapt. And so, even since that time, I use a phrase a lot: the speed of the game and the pace of how people change has continued to increase. And if you think about it, 10 years ago, we didn't use our cell phones for much more than a phone. Now we use them for shopping for about everything. And the migration of the desktop computer and the laptop and the tablets and the cell phone and all the different ways people communicate and work. So a lot of changes, a lot of tough decisions, and a lot of choices you have to make to fulfill your mission and to still fulfill your business responsibilities of what that means.
And so, maybe some real practical things. What are maybe, looking back at those times, one or two things that would help somebody through a change like that?
I think for me, it is this integration of faith and business. It's how do you keep doing what God has called you to do, and just be obedient. We have strong values at DaySpring, and those values are based around the acronym PRAISE. and it starts with the word prayer is the focus, is seeking God for God. What are you speaking? What are you saying? How do we move forward? How do we continue to fulfill what you called us to do, and do that through the business setting you've called us to be in? And we go on and talk about different things on the respect and an attitude of service and integrity and stewardship and excellence. So we use those foundational pieces to really help us in looking at business choices and trying to be wise in that business and also fulfill what God has called us to do. And I think that's true in any setting, and whether you're at a home or you're in a business, it's God, what are you speaking, and how do I listen and hear you speak, and then how do I act upon that?
Oh man, I love that. I love it's kind of having like a mission statement, and always being able to return back to that when you're trying to make decisions.
Well, I think in my own personal journey, in my my family life too, in my community, and your own journey is, Lord, what are you speaking, and how to listen to Him, and learning to listen and hear and to act upon that. It's a daily journey that you never arrive. You want an easy answer. I do. I want easy answers, and I want things to okay, Lord, just give me exactly what to go do. But God doesn't work that way. He speaks to the Holy Spirit, and he has at times been really clear, and other times I'm saying, Lord, what are you saying? And it takes time and energy to sort of discern that and to find other believers and other places to learn and understand what God is speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely seen that so many times, and often it's done in bits and pieces. I mean, it's not just laying out, a 5-page agenda for what's coming. It's just, it seems that like, it's just like you say, every day, it's kind of, you're always listening and looking for confirmation or redirection or, where He's leading next, and making sure you're going the right way. So that's so interesting that you are seeing the same thing, business or life. So I'm wondering if you were to think specifically about your greeting card products and maybe any other products that you want to talk about. I'm sure over the course of this many years that you have seen just the difference that the products from DaySpring have made. I would love it. Is there something, is there some story, some kind of encounter that you have heard of a DaySpring product making a difference in somebody's life that like you always kind of return to that, like, oh, that's the difference we make, and it kind of helps you keep going on the tough days?
Very much so. I when preparing for this interview, I thought about a few stories, and I had a number of stories that we've just seen God do unbelievable things that have been miraculous, and other times it's just a word of encouragement. But and I was speaking of listening to what God is saying and preparing for today. This morning, we have on Monday mornings what we call Jumpstart, and we invite all of our employees that want to come to. There's 30 minutes from 8:30 to 9, and we have some worship music and time, and then we usually have someone share. And it's usually someone from the business or someone that we know that comes in and shares. And Roy Lesson is one of our co-founders. Roy's been here since the beginning of DaySpring, and while he has retired the last 9 years, I haven't let him retire. He's engaged in many areas of teaching and things of the business, but he's done a lot of writing. He's been one of our writers since the beginning. And he's written a book called Because of Jesus, Today is Your Best Day. And while he's written many, many greeting cards, thousands, he has written also a number of books. Well, there was a lady that shared this morning that in 2007 that she and her husband got word that he had 3 to 6 to live, and that 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months, and life threw them a curveball. They were just, what was God doing? And a friend of theirs brought them over a book, and it was this little book called Because of Jesus, Today is Your Best Day. And she went on this morning to tell the story because she's written. We republished the book, and it's she did the the introduction in the book, and she tells the story of they use this devotion book every morning and how it impacted their lives. And as she has since purchased over 400 books and given them away to individuals. And one of the folks that she gave a book to was their surgeon, one of the surgeons that are doctors that were working with her husband. And he became a believer through this season, and has also then purchased that book and given it away to many other people. And so, just think about one writing, one book that has really, we were talking this morning that, she said has touched thousands and thousands of people. Just one book that we have written, because not only we publish, obviously, greeting cards, we publish books. We do a lot of gifts, a lot of calendars, a lot of other products that we make to really get that message of joy, hope, and encouragement into people's lives. So that's just one example, and here she is 11 years later, she's still telling that story, and she got to meet Roy this weekend for the first time. She's come here to Arkansas. She lives in South Carolina. But again, I know of another story that we used. We had a Forgiven print that we did back in the 90s, that in the 2000s with Thomas Blackshear, and someone that was really contemplating suicide got this catalog in the mail, and they had used our image of the Forgiven on the front cover of the catalog, and this catalog came in the mail just at the right time, which got a friend to talk to them that really led them back to the Lord and just changed their life. And they wrote us and told us this story, and I've got many, many stories where people have shared with us of just not only coming to know the Lord as salvation, but the encouragement out of a desperate place in a time of need when they needed encouragement, and they was able to provide them. So that's what we do. We are really trying to help people in their daily journey and equip them to know and share God's love in fresh, true, and inspiring ways, and do that in a way that can give life. And we know it's not something we're doing; it's something, what is God doing through us?
Wow, that is really incredible. This is when I don't like not having videos. You could see the shock on my face. That is incredible that so many hundred copies were given out, and gosh, that's so encouraging. I have to just tell you, I'll just add to a little bit of testimony to that. I went actually this weekend to be interviewed by a friend who has a YouTube show, and I was sharing a little bit about this podcast and the partnership with DaySpring, and as part of my visit, she gave me a gift, and of course with it was a card, and it was just so sweet. And it's just like when you read the right greeting card, somebody's giving you the right greeting card, you just feel so seen, because it's like just the right words at the right time. And of course I just happened to turn it over and saw it was a DaySpring card. Of course.
Well, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. We're very grateful to have the privilege to distribute and place these in people's hands, and to have people write, create. We have some incredible people here. Just amazing to see what God has done through people, and has continued to do. And we believe God has got so much more. And you know what? You find out is while the world is changing and culture is changing, you find out that people still need encouragement. They still need hope. They still need the love of Jesus, because we are desperate for Him at every turn, and He encourages us. And yes, we need Him in times of celebration and times when things are going wonderful, and we're just so grateful, and we're celebrating His goodness. And we need Him in those times when we just don't see out. We don't know. We're discouraged. We don't know what next steps are going to be. But as we seek Him and walk with Him, He provides a way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know one of the ways that that's happening is through encouragement is actually happening through Encourage, the online community. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that area of your business.
Yes. Well, again, in the early 2000s, we began to look at what's the change in how the marketplace was shifting, and how do we continue to fulfill what God has called us to do here. And we looked at different things, different ways of distributing products, and then we also we're looking at ways to reach consumers through not only e-commerce but online. And Holly Girth and a couple other ladies sit down with myself and Stephen Boss, over my e-commerce and marketing side of our business, and said, "Hey, we've got this great idea. We believe we can reach a lot of people through content online through a blog," and presented this idea. And again, we talked about that, and we said, this is another way that we can share the love of Jesus in fresh, true, and inspiring ways by reaching people through content and through where they are. And I know a lot of your audience, where they are. They may be working full time. They maybe have the kids at home. Maybe they're a single mom. Maybe they're a single person. And there are so many subsets of people in different roles, different functions. And so as we looked at that, we thought this would be a great way to reach people through this Encourage website. And so we launched that with a lot of faith and really, what does this look like? Because some of these things aren't always a profitable venture, especially early on. They're an investment, and so it was for us. It was not only just it was a marketing piece that really helped us allow a way to reach audience and to increase our reach, but also to have ministry involved and look for ways that we can make it financially viable over time. And so that's what we have done. We've been at that, 10 or 11 years now that we have been working on the Encourage site and the things there, and have engaged so many wonderful women through the years that have just been amazing on just their reach and their stories and their journeys. And that's what we're doing. People, it's encouraging. No pun intended. Encourage. It is encouraging that when you have someone that has walked a little bit in front of you or a little bit ahead of you and can give you some encouragement to continue the journey or to stay in there or to what do you do when things, and it's just really been a great an important part of our business and our ministry model as we've continued to grow and expand.
And I'm a huge fan of Encourage. The authors, several of your authors, including Holly Girth, have been on this podcast, and so they just do a terrific job of just meeting women where they are, wherever they are, and encouraging them along in the journey. So I'm so thankful that you guys were willing and able to kind of reach out in that way. One of the things that I'm really excited about that Encourage is doing is the Encourage Women's Devotional Bible that I was honored to write 2 devotionals for. So I'm really excited about that coming out. You guys mentioned that you were publishing as well. So I just would love to hear from you your heart behind the Bible that's coming out.
Yeah. Well, I think just like all different products, we are looking at ways that we can fulfill, our mission and our vision of everything we can do in our generation to make Christ known. And so we have not done a Bible. This will be our first one of our first Bibles that we will be doing, and this is in a partnership with Lifeway and Robin and Holman and the work they're doing there. We have been working with them and to the last number of years on how do we expand the reach of content, and so they approached us, and with some help of a few other folks, we have been working on it the last number of years. So we are super excited about to have the opportunity to introduce this Bible, and I think there's over 300 different stories and inserts in that integrate into the lives of these women that we have worked with through the years, and have really gives them an opportunity and us an opportunity to speak, Scripture into these situations, into these real life situations. And so we're looking forward this next month to that Bible coming out, and looking forward to just again one more way for us to provide tools that will allow people to express and equip them to grow in their own personal journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just love that you guys have been, the thing that I keep continuing to hear behind all of this is just really that heart to equip and encourage women. And I just love that you guys have that singular goal, and yet you're able to do that in so many different ways. What else do you guys have coming out this fall that you're excited about?
Well, we continue obviously to do a lot of greeting cards. We continue to do that, but we do thousands of other products besides the greeting cards, and we have a home party business called Mary and Martha that we launched also at a similar time of the Encourage business, and so we have a lot of gift products there. We have a lot of children's products, that children's books that we have, and we've also launched a book division in the last year that is more official. While we've done some gift books and some things, we have really are spending a lot more energy on that part of our business. We have obviously a line of calendars. We've just got a lot of great products, journals, day brighteners, a lot of things that we're really excited about. And we also have what we call an illustrating Bible coming out that is part of our Bible journaling area, and we've worked with Illustrated Faith and Shauna Noel through the years, and others as we continue that journey on Bible journaling. It's been amazing to see how God has used that. So we're introducing not only the Encourage Bible, we're introducing this Illustrating Bible that's really just a great way, again, for an individual that's a way they can express their faith and part of their worship and their creativity. It's really just a wonderful way to do that. So we're excited about all these products that just, again, put those, that you said, equipping and encouraging and enabling women to be encouraged and encourage others.
Yes, and I'm excited about that too. I've had a couple of ladies on that, are talented in that area of Bible journaling and so forth, and so that's exciting to see, and it's definitely been a popular thing over the last.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that
years,
conversation with Mr. Barnett.
Well, I have
it's
so
amazing to me
appreciated your
that
time
he is
today,
the
and I'm
president
just so
of the largest
encouraged,
company in his industry,
and
yet
continue
he
to
is
say that we're
so humble
to,
and
be encouraged.
so
from your leadership,
just in touch with everybody's daily walk and his desire for himself and his company is to encourage women, encourage people in whatever they're going through. I love that he talked about that it's both in celebration.
Well, I just want to encourage you to continue to share and reach out. We all need a Savior. We're in need of a Savior, and we need help in the daily journey. And I just want to encourage your listeners to not give up, to stay in the game, to continue to do what they can in their generation to make Christ known, and to do that in just their daily journey. God, sometimes He shows up really big, but most of the time
and I just want to encourage you in the same way that He encouraged you
daily
is to
journey,
do everything
and yet He cares. He knows
we can
where
in
we
our
are,
generation to make Christ known. And sometimes these are in big ways,
an important
big things
day,
that
and it can
God
be your
has called
best
us
day.
to, but
So I just pray
a lot of
encouragement
times
for
it's
each of your
just
listeners and for
in our daily journey and the daily walk, just following the Lord and doing whatever He is leading us to do. Sometimes we can hand them a product and encourage somebody, but sometimes it's just us personally just showing up and giving that word of encouragement. So I just want to encourage you to just look to Christ, first of all, in all of our needs, but yet then look for ways to encourage other people and to show the love of Christ just in your daily journey, and just, like he said, to make Christ known in our generation. So I just want to say another thank you to him for taking the time to be on this podcast. It was so encouraging to me, and I know it has been the same for you. I also want to encourage you, if you want to stay connected to us, we try to do that through this podcast, and encourage you in your daily journey, not only through this podcast, but on our social media sites. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Our account is Abiding Ministries. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this week. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on Feathers.